Now, after we've successfully created our first entity, it's time to add a repository that's going to work with our entity. Right here, we have because we added the dependencies for JPA, we have the JPA repositories here. And what I'm going to do right now, in order to create a JPA repository for our entity, I'm going to come here to this package and I'm going to add another package under the persistence. So I'm going to remove the entity here and I'm just going to say repository. And in repository, I'm going to add a product JPA repository. This is going to be an interface. So this needs to be an interface. And this is going to extend a JPA repository. And this takes the type of the entity. So the entity, in this case, that's going to be the product entity, and the type of the ID. The type of the ID is the long. And we need to end the long, obviously. So just like this, we have a JPA repository, basically. So it's we have an interface that extends the JPA repository. And now we can technically use this repository to access and query our database. By default, we have the JPA repository methods, and by default, if we were to inject this product JPA repository, so if I were to come, let's say in the product controller, and if I were to inject it here, private final JPA repository, product JPA repository, as you can see, it likes to inject it. So it likes to use dependency injection to inject it. Now we can do this thing here. So this is going to be like a constructor based dependency injection. And basically Spring will inject a dependency of this bin. So this will be a bin that we can use, this product JPA repository. This would be a bin that we can use in our services. Now I directly use it in the controller here just to demonstrate how can we use it. So this is using the constructor-based dependency injection. Now, if you don't want to do this manually, you can create a required args constructor, and you can remove that manual constructor, and Lombok will take care of that for you. So if I were to restart the application right now, really nothing's going to happen, but we are going to have the dependency injected here. And just for the demonstration purposes right now, what I'm going to do is in the get all products route. So I'm going to come here, and instead of returning this product list, I'm going to use the JPA repository to retrieve all the products from the actual DB. So there's a method find all. That's going to return a list of product entities. So that's going to return a list of product entity, but we want products here. We want to return product, not product entities. So I'm going to have to stream, and I'm going to have to map each of those product entities to a new product in this case. And that product's going to have to get the ID, product entity.get name, and product entity .get description. Now, why I'm doing this mapping right over here? Because the repository, the JPA repository, would return a list of the entities, and we are mapping all of those entities into a list of products using this stream operation right over here. And then I can collect it to a list. So I can collect it so basically I can say to list, like so. And now I can add a variable here. That's going to be product list, mapped product list. Let's just name it like that, mapped product list. And I'm going to click, I'm going to take that like that. And now instead of returning this static list from here, I'm going to take this product list and I'm going to return that product list. So now what I've done, now I've changed our previous implementation for the get all products to use the JPA repository and to actually query the DB. So we are getting this find all method by default with the JPA repository, using this JPA repository here. And now when I start the application and if I hit the route, so if I hit the route get all products, we're actually gonna query the DB. We're gonna retrieve all the entities, and we're gonna map those entities to the thing that's returned from our route. So in this case, a list of products, and we're gonna return those. So let's go ahead and test that out. So let's rerun the application and let's go to Postman and try to retrieve all of our products. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do right now. So I'm gonna restart the application. We're gonna go to Postman right now, and we're gonna hit this route that returns all of our products. So that's going to be this route here, API/products. I'm going to click send. And as you can see, we are getting an empty list, but that's expected. That's expected because we don't really have anything in the DB right now. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and manually insert data in the DB. So this DB here, for example, in the DB, you can insert data using dbver. So I'm going to click on the table here. I'm going to click on data, and as you can see, we have obviously nothing. I'm going to click on the little plus here, and I'm going to go and add a description. I'm going to say test product description 1, and I'm going to say a name test product 1. Now I'm going to click save. And automatically we're going to get an ID because the ID is going to be automatically generated. So this now is persisted, saved to the DB. We do have this entry in the DB. Now if I go to Postman and if I run the route again, so if I hit the route again, as you can see, this product here is getting fetched from the DB. So now what's happening, now we're no longer using this static list here, but now we are actually using the repository to fetch the DB, to fetch all of the products. Then we are mapping those products to our DTO here, which is the product, and we're returning those from the endpoint. So now this data here is getting fetched from the DB. And that's going to be it for this video. In the next video, we're going to talk about more operations with the JPA repositories.